Welcome back to the Daily News. Steve Gaito has joined us again. Steve is a certified financial planner, and he also is the owner of the company called Retirement Resource Management, helping you to plan for your retirement, which doesn't mean you wait until you're 50 or 60. You start when you're 20 and 30, right, Steve?
Ideally, that would be perfect, but the reality is most of the time it's 55 plus.
I know it. All right, now we're going to talk specifically today, Steve, about reverse mortgages.
Yeah.
What they are, how they can help, what you use the money for. So I've seen ads on television, and I always think, oh, that might not be a good idea. So you want to share a little bit?
Well, when you see Tom Selleck on TV, I mean, my wife's guilty as charged. She's going to pay attention.
Yeah.
And the reality is that reverse mortgages have changed. They were kind of, for lack of a better word, a little risky.
Right.
For people. They were very expensive. There was not a lot of really known about it. But now there's a whole process in place. You have to go through counseling before you actually take out a reverse mortgage. But there's some real specific needs that they address.
Now, is it for someone who has paid off their mortgage, so they own their home and they don't have any sort of mortgage? So then is the concept you borrow on that mortgage?
No, it's really thinking of it as one of the assets that's in your retirement portfolio. And if it just sits there, it really doesn't help you in any way. And so one of the most common ways that it works out well for people is if they still have an outstanding mortgage.
Oh, okay.
And so let's just say they've got $1,500 a month that's having to go to a mortgage. That can create a big cash flow problem. And so by using a reverse mortgage, they're able to actually pay off the so-called mortgage of it and not have that obligation of a monthly payment. And then when you pass away, you and your spouse pass away, it's all settled up at that point. And so you use that asset.
Okay. And is there any particular segment of the population that should even be looking at a reverse mortgage?
Well, it's those that haven't honestly done a great job of saving. And so when you start thinking about that, the other one is those that have all of their money sitting in a 401k or an IRA, and they're depending upon that. Wade Pfau, who works with the American College of Financial Planning, wrote a nice paper on this where you actually use a reverse mortgage as a backup income source. And what's happening is the market goes down like it's done right now. You don't want to be taking money out of your investments because you're waiting for them to recover. You actually borrow against the equity in your home. Now, some people say, why don't I do an equity line or something like that? The problem is the banks control that situation, and they can say, no, we're going to stop extending you credit, which happened back in 2008 to a lot of people. And so by doing that, you're able to weather the storm, and then when the market goes back up, you have two choices. You can either pay the money back, or you can just let it be settled up later on. And so it gives you that float to be able to go through those downturns in the market.
Anything else you want to share about reverse mortgages that we haven't covered?
Well, they're expensive.
Okay.
And so, you know, it's...
How so?
Well, it's going to be roughly 5%. Is a big number, and they're getting more reasonable. It's not a first result that you go to.
Right.
It's there for protection. It's there for income. It's there when you really are going to run out of other resources to keep you from making bad decisions on liquidating your liquid assets.
Right. We have about a minute left. How is everything going in the market? And we are in a recession, right, Steve?
Yeah, we're technically in one. I just read an article that says they expect the market to come back after the election. So we only have a couple months before we should see some recovery, but they think it might be short-termed. So, you know, we're going to see some volatility. Interest rates are a big factor. What the Fed's going to do with interest rates, that's going to have a big impact on corporate profits and how people are able to access their investments.
And the most important thing is to plan.
Yeah.
Plan for your retirement and save.
That's right.
And most of us really don't have financial savvy, and that's why someone like a Steve Gaito can guide you along that journey.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve, for being with us. And we appreciate you watching the Daily News, and we'll be right back.